We live right now. Today is Friday, the 16th of May, 2025. We're doing pretty good right now. I hope that you're doing pretty good right now. Here we go. 10 signs you're growing as a coffee brewer. 10 signs, okay? We brew coffee. I roast coffee, but I also brew coffee. And I think that's more important than anything because at the end of the day, you're brewing coffee, right? So, how do you know if you're growing or not? And I think these 10 things are probably the reasons why you know that you're growing in the craft, the hobby, the obsession, the ritual of coffee brewing. Okay? So, here's the first one. You care less about impressing people and more about enjoying the cup. I think that's true. If you have friends and family, sure. Like I said, you probably have people online and everything that you do talk to or that you look to in order to give you like a recipe or tip or whatever. But at the end of the day, nobody's in your house. You're in your house, you're making your cup of coffee for yourself, probably for another person or two. And you have to trust your palate. And once you do that, you're not worried about what another person may say about the brew or the coffee. You're figuring it out on your own. So that's one sign that you know that you're on the right track. Number two, you've broken a few rules on purpose and you like the results. I think even if you don't do it on purpose, it comes as an accident, but you're pushing yourself. Again, you're going beyond what you've heard from others. You're seeing what this coffee brings to you. You have a particular brewing style that you like, and you're going with it. But at the end of the day, a lot of times when people say, do this, do that, do this, do this, you tend to like stick to that. Like it's the rule of everything. Yes, people have industry. People have like obsession in coffee making, but you're the one who's making the coffee for yourself. So if you break a rule or two here and there and you like the way it came out, I think that's pretty cool. So that's when you know that you're actually doing something for yourself more than anything. Okay. Number three, you're starting to taste more than just bitter or strong. And that's so true. I think bitter and strong, that's extremely critical. But yeah, you're starting to taste other things. You're probably starting to taste some of the things that's on the bag, as somebody may say, or that color of that fruit, or that thing or that note that somebody's saying. If you see like brown, you see chocolatey, you know, you're starting to see more so awesomeness in coffee. You can describe it a lot more than bitter strong. I think it's still very important that you do know what bitter and strong is and the difference between the two. But you're growing because now you're just not saying that coffee tastes like coffee. You're actually deciphering what you're actually tasting. And to an extent, sometimes with different recipes, you can probably go ahead and get different layers of what you're tasting in that cup. So that's when you know that you're growing. You're understanding what you're actually drinking a little bit more than what you have been in the past. Okay. Number four, you've had bad cups that you knew exactly how to fix. And I think that's going to be one of the most critical ones here. Because the thing is that when we brew coffee, it's not going to be perfect all the time. We get a new bag. We had coffee that just sat there for a little bit. We came back to it. So we have to like get to the point to where we are kind of conquering that coffee again or figuring that coffee out. And we know if we did a certain thing right, and when we actually can figure out the mistakes, like, okay, that water was a little too hot. I didn't like the way that coffee presented itself. It wasn't as sweet as it was before, or I grinded my coffee too fine for whatever reason that it may be. And now you're able to troubleshoot. You're not going to the internet to check to see if you're doing something right. Because again, you're by yourself. You're making this coffee for your own self, for your own palate. And as you grow, that's what you're going to have to do anyway. So, next one. You don't panic when you don't have your usual gear. I think that's a big one. I know it's kind of, I'm not picking on them, but a lot of times when I'm traveling, I don't really sweat the whole coffee thing. Sometimes I'll use a Mr. Coffee machine. Sometimes I'll use a Keurig, whatever they may have. I know a lot of people, they want to go camping and they want to make sure they have the right grinder. It doesn't matter. You can figure out the best way to make coffee as you can. Because at the end of the day, you're out, you're exploring life, you're living life, and coffee is a part of your life. It's not the only thing that you do. And when you don't have all the stuff that you don't have or usually have, you're able to figure out no matter what. And with that being said, it's probably best that you start doing challenges anyway. Because I think challenges that you do in your house, giving yourself constraints, will help you to push yourself even more so to the point to where it doesn't matter where you're at. You can probably make a good cup of coffee, or at least try, So, okay. You understand that better is subjective. And again, I think that's where all of this comes back to. It's up to you. Everybody has their own reasonings why they like what they like. Like, if you don't know already, I don't care for light roast. I did before, but now that my palate has kind of changed, and I would say, I guess, matured, I can see appreciation in other different types of roast, different types of coffee. Some coffees I do like, some coffees I don't like. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things to where it's up to you to like what you like. It's up to you to like figure it out no matter what. And I think that's really where it comes down to. It's up to you to take whatever somebody may say with a grain of salt or a pinch of grounds. I'm horrible with puns and all that stuff, but hear me out. Trust yourself, believe in yourself, build that confidence in yourself. Understand that you are the one who's making the magic of that morning. And it's up to you to decide to do the things that you need to do in order for you to enjoy your cup of coffee. So really think about that. Okay? It's subjective and it's up to you. That's all I got to say to that, Okay. You're willing to try coffees you used to avoid. I think that's one of the reasons why I come back to this whole light roast or this Sumatran. I've been hating Sumatrans lately. I used to love Sumatran coffees, but lately, I don't know, just because of what I get out of coffee or the way I roast it or even the way I brew it, it's not gelling with me. It's not coming to me. It's not something that I like. And it's just like anything in life, right? We do something. And as we do something, we probably come back to it. Like I try to tell my kids to always try things, even if you didn't like it, because you will come to it and understand it to the point to where it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. I like it now, or I don't still like it, but now you can be more analytical or you can be more objective of why you like certain things and everything and why you don't like it now and things that you can do in order to kind of mitigate the hatred of it. If that makes any sense. All right. You stopped obsessing over ratios. I still kind of obsess over ratios, but I've started to lean up a little bit about that, especially now I'm playing around with this whole light roast thing to where I'm trying to treat it as tea. And when I treat it as tea, I don't think light roast shines in a 1-to-15 ratio. I think it's a lot better at a 1-to-18 ratio, pushing that extraction to 23 to 24%. Still playing around with that. But I'm realizing that 1-to-15 isn't a be all, end all. And sometimes 1-to-15 can be kind of heavy. And I used to be a person who used to brew a cup of coffee at 1 to 10. But now that I've matured, I want to taste more of the essence and the intricacies and the clarity and the things about the coffee that you don't see in the bags. So, yeah, play around with ratios. Don't be too close to your ratios. Different coffees may call for different things. So, yeah, I do play around with that and not so much rigid about it. But again, my default is 1 to 15. I'm not going to lie about that. Okay. You appreciate brewing as a ritual, not just a task. I think that's everybody. I think that's everybody who really loves coffee brewing. Is that sometimes when you use like a Mr. Coffee, it takes the ritual part of out of it, but you can still have that ritual part. You're still doing essentially the same thing as everybody else has. I look forward to making a cup of coffee. And at times, I make multiple cups of coffees throughout the day. I love it. And I think it's fun. And I think it's something that, you know, we can get behind. Why not? Because it's the part of the doing. You know, we always think about the destination, right? From A to B. But most of the time, 80-90% of the time, we're in the actual journey. And in this case, the journey is actually brewing a cup of coffee. So if you're enjoying majority of the things that you're doing, I think you're in a good spot. So think about that. If you haven't, the actual ritual of making the cup of coffee is amazing. And if you love that part, it's not a chore, you're on the right track. I believe so. And the last one, you're more curious than competitive. And that is so true. I'm always weirded out when I see all these barista competitions and brewing competitions, and I understand why they do it. I think they kind of do it because they're bored. It could be a hot take. They don't know what else to do with themselves. But if you're curious and you're wondering and you're trying to figure out why you're actually loving this whole coffee thing, I think that sets you apart more than anybody. It's not even so much of a comparison. It's just like where you're at in your life, in your journey with coffee. And if you understand all the things that you're trying to do and you want to continue to pursue different techniques, different ways of making coffee, different things people are doing, or even what you're thinking about doing, that's more than half the battle. And I think when you do that, it's endless. It's completely endless of the things that you can do. Like I'm loving the setup right now. I'm loving the situation of, yes, I have a lot of brewers, but I'm trying different things. I'm trying different papers. I'm trying different ratios. I'm trying to push myself to the point to where I'm seeing things differently. Just curious about if I just tried this. I'm not thinking about like the science of it so much because it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, think about this. I'm going to end off this. I just thought about this. Of all the things that you can do in the world and you can think of trying or a recipe to try, you can do that with coffee brewing. Think about it. Let's just say hypothetically you saw somebody try something online. It looked cool. What you're brewing, what the way that they're brewing. And you're like, why did they do that? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you can actually do it. See what I'm getting at? You don't have to like do this crazy thing of figuring this out or trying to do all this other stuff. At the end of the day, you can actually do the thing that you want to do from yourself, from other people. It doesn't really matter. And I think that's the beauty of all of this is that we can get anything, get inspired by anything and do it. There's no real objections here. And you can use the gear that you have and explore and see where that curiosity goes. And I think that's really cool about all of this is that, we can always do the things like that's what I try to do a lot of times in my videos and the things that I share is that there's nothing that you cannot do that I'm talking about, that anybody talks about, that anything that you can think about. And I think that's really cool. So think about it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any ideas, thoughts, and desires or other things, other rules that you can think of that may get you to think that you're on the right track, because you are. At the end of the day, it's your journey. I'm just here to kind of let you know that trust that path that you're going on, if that makes any sense. So this is Oki at Everyday Beans signing off, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.